I watch them all the time. I think I watched Indiana State and Iowa, Caitlin Clark play about the same last year. So I've watched a lot of basketball.
Like, can we get Caitlin Clark a little protection out there?
Anybody that does something flagrant to this young lady for what she's brought to the game should be suspended and fined big time.
What happens if one of the greatest basketball stars ever sees the most talented young player in the WNBA being singled out by questionable methods? Larry Bird's explosive comments about Alyssa Thomas's conduct against Caitlin Clark have utterly shaken the basketball world, so you're going to find out. But first, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen an elite athlete singled out like Caitlin Clark has been throughout her career? Because of what he witnessed during that Phoenix Mercury game, Larry Bird's view of the WNBA has entirely changed. This is the aspect of Bird's perspective that Alyssa Thomas finds so devastating. Right now, Caitlin Clark is exactly where Larry Bird is. When Bird was the top player in a league consisting of incredible athletes in the 1980s, they tried to physically intimidate him because they couldn't match his outstanding basketball IQ. But Bird emphasized this crucial point. This is where the reputation of Alyssa Thomas becomes quite fascinating. Bird understands the difference between what he witnessed in the mob scenario and championship-level competitive basketball and what he's seeing with Clark. "It's the most cowardly act I've seen on a basketball court in decades," he said. You heard properly.
Look at that. Boom. Look at her put her knee into Caitlin Clark's groin. Right there on that play. Right? I mean, this is gross. Right there.
When Bird viewed the footage of Alyssa Thomas pushing Clark from behind while she was adjusting to being poked in the eye, he reacted quickly and cruelly. This man, who battled famous enforcers like Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer, had a better knowledge of what pure competitive fire looked like than almost anyone in basketball history. But even he could see that Alyssa Thomas's behavior was beyond the norms of sportsmanship and competitive honesty. However, listen to what Bird has to say about the timing of that shove. At this moment, his insight utterly devastates Alyssa Thomas. Before we continue, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's return to the narrative. The basketball player raised a point that many fans had been thinking about, but nobody with his level of notoriety had the guts to voice it. Taking cheap shots at a person when they're completely exposed and not looking is not the same as playing championship-level defense. Bird emphasized that most people considered his era to be the most physically taxing in NBA history. Instead of waiting for someone's back to turn before acting like a predator, you faced them head-on like a warrior when you disagreed with them. And that's exactly what infuriated Bird the most about Alyssa Thomas's disgraceful actions. But at this moment, Alyssa Thomas's reputation is totally destroyed by Bird's critique. Alyssa Thomas's pathetic reaction after the event really infuriated the Celtics veteran. Alyssa Thomas feigned that the media and fans were unfairly criticizing her instead of apologizing or acknowledging that she might have gone too far. She muttered, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't." But after hearing such comments, Bird felt even more furious. Bird claims that the game's champions and legends, truly great competitors, always take full responsibility for their actions, especially when those actions could put another player in grave danger. He said he was reminded of athletes who knew deep down they couldn't compete at the highest level when he saw Alyssa Thomas play the victim and avoid criticism. As a result, they found other questionable ways to affect the game. In other words, because Alyssa Thomas lacks the actual basketball skills to match better potential, Bird effectively described her as a second-rate player who employs unethical tactics. This is where Bird's research truly shines and reveals a fascinating aspect of Caitlin Clark. Bird sees in Clark the same unique qualities that made him one of the greatest basketball players in history. Her exceptional basketball intelligence, her unexplainable clutch shooting ability, and, above all, her divine vision to improve everyone around her. But as someone who respects the ethics of basketball, he also observes something that really concerns him. This incredibly talented young athlete must constantly be on the lookout for cheap shots and dirty tricks rather than focusing solely on reaching her boundless basketball potential. Bird claims that Alyssa Thomas's approach embodies everything that is wrong with some players' choice to play Clark instead of pushing themselves to match her exceptional skill level or outwork her on the court through dedication and preparation. It is a disturbing pattern that she is physically targeted when she is most vulnerable. This behavior, according to Bird, is the purest form of basketball competition. But because of this, Bird's provocative comments have the entire basketball world talking. Bird compared Clark's predicament to his own experiences of physical intimidation while working. But he was quick to point out something that elevates Clark and puts her situation in perfect context. At barely 22 years old, he noted, Clark is dealing with a lot more hardship than most athletes encounter throughout their careers. And she's doing it while bearing the heavy burden of being the unchallenged face of women's basketball. However, Bird's statement regarding Alyssa Thomas's future in the league is currently going viral on social media, and you must hear it to believe it. According to Bird, if the WNBA permits players like Alyssa Thomas to target superstars without consequence, it is the message that mediocre players can resort to unethical methods in order to remain relevant rather than honing their genuine basketball skills. According to him, this sets a risky precedent that can discourage the players who are pushing the league to new heights. Bird went so far as to say that young players watching at home are misled by the league's inability to sufficiently penalize these behaviors. According to him, viewing the WNBA should teach children about skill, commitment, and sportsmanship rather than how to target opponents when they're weak. However, Bird's forecast regarding Clark's future in spite of these obstacles was arguably the most impactful aspect of his entire remark. He claimed that Clark was shaped by hardship and that every cheap shot, dirty play, and attempt to intimidate her just strengthened her will to demonstrate her dominance via unadulterated basketball brilliance. Bird likened Clark's predicament to his own rookie season when rival players continuously put him to the test physically to see if he could withstand the strain. He pointed out that the distinction is that Clark is dealing with this behavior in addition to the unheard-of media attention and expectations that come with being the most marketable player in WNBA history. This is why Bird's backing of Clark is so important. He's not merely protecting a gifted athlete. He is protecting basketball's inherent integrity. He believes that Caitlin Elizabeth Clark possesses all the qualities that define basketball, including talent, vision, class, and competitiveness. Additionally, he sees everything that may undermine the sport in athletes like Alyssa Thomas. The WNBA is at a turning point, as the basketball legend made evident. They have two options. Either they continue to let weaker players employ dishonest strategies to stay relevant, or they protect and highlight their best players, enabling guys like Clark to realize their full potential and improve the league as a whole. Bird's message was clear. Making the right decision will determine the league's future. The question that has everyone talking, though, is this one. Will Larry Bird's cautions regarding safeguarding Caitlin Clark be taken seriously by the WNBA, or will they keep letting athletes like Alyssa Thomas use dubious tactics to damage the league's reputation? Let's carry on the discussion in the comments section below. What are your thoughts on Larry Bird's utterly damning critique of Alyssa Thomas's actions? Do you believe he is being overly critical, or are his critiques entirely justified? More significantly, do you think the WNBA will eventually take action to safeguard its biggest star? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. I read each and every one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell if you want to see more analysis like this that breaks through the clutter and tells you what's actually going on in basketball. Caitlin Clark's treatment in the WNBA may finally alter as a result of Larry Bird's inflammatory remarks. The basketball community is keeping an eye on this topic. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is becoming impossible to ignore. The conversation is no longer just about one game, one hard foul, or one controversial moment. It's about the future of women's basketball, the standards the league wants to uphold, and how its biggest stars are treated when the spotlight is at its brightest. Caitlin Clark has entered the WNBA carrying expectations that very few athletes have ever experienced. Every game she plays is watched by millions. Every move she makes is analyzed from every angle. Every success is celebrated, and every setback becomes a headline. That's the reality of being one of the biggest names in basketball today. At the same time, veterans across the league continue to compete at the highest level, bringing years of experience, toughness, and pride to every matchup. The challenge for the WNBA is ensuring that fierce competition never crosses the line into unnecessary or dangerous play. Fans want intensity. They want rivalries. They want physical basketball. But they also want fairness, respect, and consistency. Larry Bird's comments have sparked passionate debate because they come from someone who understands exactly what it means to play under pressure. Throughout his legendary career, Bird faced some of the toughest defenders and most physical opponents basketball has ever seen. Yet his message wasn't simply about toughness. It was about protecting the integrity of the game and ensuring that basketball skill, not controversy, continues to be the major focus. It's undeniable that Bird's remarks are generating conversation, regardless of whether you wholeheartedly concur with his viewpoint or think the circumstances have been overstated. What should happen when the league's best talents become the focus of physical play is still up for dispute among fans, pundits, former players, and media figures. Do officials need to be more stringent? Should the league impose more severe sanctions? Or is this just a typical aspect of playing basketball professionally? Everybody appears to have a different response. Caitlin Clark's response is unquestionable. She has maintained to concentrate on basketball rather than letting controversy, physical defense, or criticism define her career. She continues to compete, show up, and demonstrate why so many people think she is the sport's future. One of the main reasons her supporters still stand by her is her tenacity. Unprecedented attention is being paid to the WNBA. The number of people watching television is increasing. The arenas are getting full. Discussions on social media are expanding daily. Additionally, new viewers are learning about women's basketball for the first time. These kinds of situations impact more than one individual or team. They have an impact on how the league is seen globally. Every game will become significantly more important as the season progresses. Every game that Caitlin Clark plays will be thoroughly monitored. Every contentious play will be examined. Every performance will contribute to the story of one of the most talked about seasons in WNBA history, and every official decision will be scrutinized. You now have the most important question. Do you think Larry Bird's remarks accurately capture the current state of the league? Do you believe the WNBA is taking adequate precautions to safeguard its stars while permitting physical competition in basketball? What future effects do you believe this whole thing will have on Alyssa Thomas, Caitlin Clark, and the league? I sincerely want to know what basketball fans around the world think, so please share your thoughts in the comment section below. This group is great because of respectful debate, and your viewpoint might be included in a future video. Make sure to press the subscribe button, enable notifications, and never miss another upload if you liked this breakdown and want more in-depth basketball analysis, exclusive updates, and the biggest stories involving the WNBA, NBA legends, and Caitlin Clark. I appreciate you watching. We appreciate your tremendous support, and keep in mind that every night, basketball history is being made. It's possible that the next episode will be even more significant than this one, and you'll learn about it right here. To ensure you don't miss anything, please leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on all alerts. Once you click the video on the screen, we'll see you in the next one. Music.